So a long time ago, I made a video highlighting what I believe are the top 10 acting Oscar wins of the 2010s. Now it's time for me to discuss the top 10 acting Oscar nominations of the 2010s that did not go on to win. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. And yeah, what are some nominations from the 2010s decade in acting I think were pretty frickin' awesome that could have maybe even won over the person who took home the gold trophy? Let's start with number 10, Best Actress, Rooney Mara, the girl with the dragon tattoo.
I guess I must have alarmed you turning up like
If
that.
you touch me, I'll more than alarm you.
That won't be necessary.
I've said this before on the channel, and I'm going to say it again. I love when the Academy recognizes more genre performances, especially in lead actor or lead actress. Rooney Mara in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That is the kind of bonkers great performance the Academy could have snubbed. Like, it got into the Golden Globes, but I don't think she was nominated very often that award season. It's not like she got into all the precursor ceremonies. So by the time we got to Oscar nominations morning in early 2012, I was a little nervous. I was like, they're not going to nominate Mara. I didn't think it was going to happen. The movie had underperformed, even though I loved it and put that film by David Fincher on my top 10 list. I was like, she's probably going to miss. And when she made it in, I cheered. I have always adored this Oscar nomination. Rooney Mara is on another level in that movie. She had done some good work before, like in The Social Network, but holy shit, Rooney Mara as Lisbeth Salander opposite Daniel Craig in that end of the year release was just something else. And in a field that also had some good Oscar nominations, like Viola Davis for The Help, who got close to winning an Oscar that year. Remember, she won at SAG in Best Actress. But as I've discussed in a recent Oscar race retrospective video, Meryl Streep ended up taking the gold trophy that night, her third Academy Award for The Iron Lady, and she's very good in the movie. She's not really the problem with The Iron Lady, but I've never thought that should have been her third win. Rooney Mara for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was just happy to be there. She was probably in 5th place, to be honest. But that doesn't take anything away from this amazing Oscar nomination. Number 9, Best Supporting Actor, Richard E. Grant, Can You Ever Forgive Me?
I just come from having my teeth bleached. How do they look?
Why would you do that?
Oh, teeth are a dead giveaway.
I don't know what it was. Part of it may have been that I had been seeing the Can You Ever Forgive Me trailer in theaters for like 6 months. I remember it played for most of 2018. I saw that ad over and over. By the time the movie came out, I was like already sick of the movie. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to see this. But of course, the reviews were rapturous. Everybody loved this movie. And Melissa McCarthy, Richard E. Grant, a movie about a writer. Like, yeah, I was going to check this one out. And as much as I adore that McCarthy performance, and I'm so happy she got into the Oscars in Best Actress, but Richard E. Grant in that movie is extraordinary. He's so funny and original and has this electric energy about him. He plays off McCarthy so well. And I felt in early 2019 that was the absolute perfect example of a supporting actor Oscar nomination, and when I think that prize should have gone to Grant. It was weird to me to see Mahershala Ali basically sweep the season in supporting actor that year for Green Book after he had just won 2 years before in the same category for his better performance in Moonlight. So that one was weird to me. I would have liked to have seen Richard E. Grant win at least a couple big televised prizes. Even if he didn't take the Oscar at the end of the day, I do think this is an all-timer nomination. Number 8, Best Actor, Timothée Chalamet, Call Me By Your Name.
I can't believe you changed it again.
Oh, I changed it a little bit.
Yeah, why?
I just played it the way Busoni would have played it if he'd altered lists version.
So here's an Oscar nomination from the 2010s I adore for a couple reasons. One, Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name gave such a stunning, grounded, authentic, beautiful performance for a young actor. I mean, I had seen him and stuff before. He was on Homeland. He might have been in a movie or two I had seen. But I was just so amazed by his work in that film. It was my introduction to Luca Guadagnino as well. And that movie was my number 2 choice for Best of 2017. Obviously, there are a couple aspects to that movie that haven't aged super well, but I still really love it, and especially that Chalamet performance. The other main thing I love about this nomination is that, especially in lead actress and lead actor, we don't get too many young people there. Like every few years we get a child, every few years we'll get someone a bit younger, but in 2017 we had so many amazing performances up for lead actor, and for them to get Chalamet in, I think he was like 2021 around that time. That was really cool. It was very much deserved, and I'm disappointed he hasn't been nominated since. He was worthy the next year for Beautiful Boy in supporting actor. He missed at the end, but at least there is this awesome Best Actor Oscar nomination for Call Me By Your Name. Number 7, Best Supporting Actress, Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird.
I think just go to City College and then to jail, and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Now, if Call Me By Your Name was my choice for the number 2 best film of 2017, my choice for number 1 was Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig's amazing coming-of-age film starring Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf. I don't know about you. I can't imagine I was the only one. I was a little surprised to see Allison Janney sweep that season in supporting actress for I, Tonya, never missing anywhere, when Laurie Metcalf gave what I believe the better performance in the category in Lady Bird, and definitely the more emotionally moving one. I feel like Metcalf in Gerwig's film gave the kind of performance that really tugs on viewers' heartstrings, especially that scene of her in the car. And so I thought, okay, Janney is giving the more colorful performance in I, Tonya. It's also very good. She might win some things, but she's not going to take everything. Metcalf might win at SAG or BAFTA or something, even if Janney takes the Oscar in the end. I feel like Metcalf is deserving of something. And then she never won any major televised prizes. And it was so disappointing to me. I was so stunned by that. I was like, really? Like, we're not going to reward Metcalf for this? It just didn't make sense to me. Her scenes with Saoirse Ronan are so raw and true, and I just love this performance. I'm happy she at least got the Oscar nomination. I would have gone berserk if they had snubbed her there. So I'm thankful the incredible Laurie Metcalf at least has an Oscar nomination in her long and celebrated career, but she should have won, honestly. Number 6, Best Actor, Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out.
Yo, my man. They were asking me about the African-American experience. Maybe you could take this one. Oh.
Another thing the Academy almost never does is recognize actors in the horror genre. Like, it doesn't happen at all anymore. I've made a series, Horror and the Oscars. When it's all said and done, I will have made like 10 videos for that series, because in almost 100 years of the Academy Awards, there's really not much to say about horror. They snub it over and over again in Best Picture, in the acting categories, in technical categories. It's like so many of these masterpieces of the genre don't even exist. But occasionally, I would say, once every 15 years, maybe 20 years, a horror film breaks through, and Get Out was that movie, released in February of 2017. Remember that? It came out in theaters in February, and then it hung on, kind of like The Silence of the Lambs did in the 90s, another film that opened in February. and then went on to win Picture, Director, Actor, Actress. Get Out was such an original, such an astonishing film of the genre that the Academy just couldn't ignore it, and it got into some major categories like Picture and Director and Original Screenplay, which Jordan Peele, of course, won, and that was really cool. But I really, really dig that Best Actor nomination for Daniel Kaluuya. The Academy could have pushed that one aside the way they did a year later for another amazing performance in the horror genre, Toni Collette in Hereditary. But for Get Out, they recognized Kaluuya as they should have. That was one of the most memorable performances of the year. The character arc for him in that film. It's such a thrill to watch. What Kaluuya can do with just a look, an expression, no dialogue is fascinating, and what he gets to do in the third act of that movie is just a thrill to see play out. And what a cool Oscar win for Best Actor that would have been. I mean, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour was the obvious winner, all the prosthetics, playing a real person, but I don't think that Oscar win for Oldman has aged very well. I think anyone else in the category pretty much would have been a better choice, like Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, and especially Daniel Kaluuya for his astonishing performance in Get Out. Number 5, Best Actress, Rosamund Pike, Gone Girl.
And all we did was resent each other and try to control each other and cause each other pain.
That's marriage.
Here we have another amazing Best Actress Oscar nomination from a David Fincher movie. We talked about Rooney Mara in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That came out in 2011. And then his follow-up to that was 2014's Gone Girl, which only got one Oscar nomination. It's a great one. One of my favorite acting Oscar nods of the decade, Rosamund Pike. If this movie was going to get one Academy Award nomination, it was going to be that one. She is just a force of nature in that movie. I mean, talk about layers. Talk about getting to play all sorts of different notes for a single person in a movie. I mean, some scenes early on with Ben Affleck, she is sweet and loving. And then by the end of the movie, she is spinning around a bed, slicing up Neil Patrick Harris to death. And you're like, I mean, she gets to do a lot in this movie. What a great screenplay by the novel's author, Gillian Flynn. I do think the screenplay should have gotten into the Oscars too. David Fincher in Best Director, the movie in Best Picture. But the thing with Gone Girl is that it is very dark and twisted and more of a genre film. And those are tricky to get into the Oscars, especially in top categories. They could have ignored Pike. Like if they had been real assholes at the Academy Awards. But if Pike wasn't there, this lineup in Best Actress in early 2015 would have been very weak. I don't really like that lineup very much. The coronation it basically was for Julianne Moore to finally win her Oscar. I do think there was a better performance in the category, and I would have loved to have seen her win instead, honestly, Rosamund Pike for Gone Girl. Number 4, Best Supporting Actor, Philip Seymour Hoffman, The Master.
But it's not unlike traveling down a river, you see. You travel down the river, round the bend, look back, and you cannot see around the bend, can you? But that does not mean it is not there, does it?
The Best Supporting Actor race in early 2013 was an interesting one, where at basically every precursor ceremony, a different person won in the category. Christoph Waltz won for Django Unchained at the Golden Globes, but then at SAG, Tommy Lee Jones won for Lincoln, and at Critics' Choice. The critics made the right choice in picking Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master. I think that was the obvious choice to win at the Oscars that year. One of the most stunning performances we got in the 2010s is Hoffman in Paul Thomas Anderson's film. Everybody's great in it. Amy Adams, who got into supporting actress, and Joaquin Phoenix, who got into actor. Like, Joaquin Phoenix in The Master is something else. He is so incredible in that. But I was especially taken by Hoffman. I do think this is his last great performance. He went on to do a few more things, before his untimely passing, my God, do we miss Philip Seymour Hoffman. I try not to think about all the amazing roles and performances he would have given in the last decade. It's so sad. But boy, his work in The Master, his final collaboration with Paul Thomas Anderson, is spectacular. Every choice he makes, in his quiet moments, in his moments of intense rage, that one scene where he just really rips into that guy in the crowded room, you understand why many people might follow him. He has an energy, this commanding presence. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman just had that as a person in all of his movies, but it's really used beautifully in The Master, and I do think he should have won the Oscar that year for Best Supporting Actor. This is a stunning performance from the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman, and one of my favorite acting Oscar nominations of the 2010s. Number 3, Best Actor, Leonardo DiCaprio, The Wolf of Wall Street.
You go after real criminals, which makes me wonder what the hell you're investigating me for. I mean, honestly, what is it that you think that we did or do? I don't get it.
So should I say it again? I'm going to say it again because I've talked about it in other videos. You've probably heard me say it, and I'm of course not the only one. But Leonardo DiCaprio's Oscar win should have been for The Wolf of Wall Street, not The Revenant. He's very good in The Revenant. That's not a bad Oscar win by any means. He was very much overdue. By the time we even heard about The Revenant, it seemed kind of obvious, like, okay, he's gonna win for this. But The Wolf of Wall Street, all 3 hours of that batshit crazy movie and that absolute bonkers great DiCaprio performance on a dramatic level and on a comedic level, I just thought he hit that one out of the park. I have loved DiCaprio in so many films, but I still think that's his best performance. That's the one that really blew me away. Those 3 hours of The Wolf of Wall Street just flew by, and I have since seen the movie a couple more times. I am just in awe of his talent in that movie. His presence, his confidence, his willingness to do anything in that movie. Like that scene where he is crawling to the car. I mean, I have rarely laughed that hard in a theater for a movie. I was dying. I was like, okay, we don't really think of DiCaprio as a person who makes us laugh in a movie, but he had me going there, and I was just so impressed by what he accomplished in The Wolf of Wall Street. That, of course, was the year of Matthew McConaughey and Dallas Buyers Club. He was the person everybody decided we're going to give an Oscar to this year. And, like, I never saw that. Like, I thought he was good in Dallas Buyers Club, but I had some issues with that movie. I think The Wolf of Wall Street is a better movie, and I 100% believe DiCaprio should have won Best Actor instead. Number 2, Best Supporting Actress, Melissa McCarthy, Bridesmaids.
What did we eat? Oh, sinks a goner! What are you doing? It's coming out of me like lava!
This Oscar nomination, come on. It's one of the coolest things the Academy has done in this century. Amazing and original comedic performances like McCarthy in Bridesmaids almost never get into the Oscars. A funny performance gets in here and there. I always think about that Joan Cusack nomination for In and Out in early 1998. That was also a very cool comedic performance, being recognized by the Academy. So they do it here and there. But I feel like it's maybe once every 15 years, like there'll be a performance in a major Hollywood comedy that we just can't ignore. That was so mind-blowing in its creativity, originality, confidence. Everybody is great in Bridesmaids, but that movie would not have been the hit it turned out to be. It would not be the modern comedy classic it is without that McCarthy performance. Every time she's on screen, you can't look away. You never know what she's going to do or say next. And in some of those comedic moments, like when they get the food poisoning and they all start throwing up and having to poop, and it's like, What McCarthy does in that scene, I have never forgotten. And I mean, her entrance into the movie is memorable and great. She also has some quieter, dramatic moments toward the end. She does get a chance to show some layers. It's not just this kooky, wacky character that comes into a scene here and there just to make us laugh. Like, it's more than that, and I'm so happy the Academy recognized this performance. Early 2012 at the Oscars, you don't see very much comedy represented, but I think it is so awesome that they rewarded Bridesmaids with 2 Oscar nominations, Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress. I mean, this film came out way back the previous May. It could have just been looked at as a big hit comedy that people liked, and then it just wouldn't get anything during award season. But you know what? Sometimes the Academy does the right thing. They don't always do the right thing, as I talk about often on this channel. But nominating Melissa McCarthy in Best Supporting Actress for Bridesmaids, that is one of the best decisions they ever made throughout the 2010s. Alright, that takes me to my number 1 choice. What do I think is the best acting Oscar nomination of the 2010s that did not result in a win? This one, if you've been following my videos, you might have seen coming. My number 1 choice is Best Actress Sandra Bullock, Gravity.
I used to sing to my baby. And I hope I see her soon.
Alright, full disclosure, I'm a little biased on this one. I will say that. Sandra Bullock is my favorite actress, and I spent decades waiting for her to give a truly staggering, memorable, dramatic performance in a movie. I thought she had one in her, like we saw little pieces along the way in Crash and Infamous and The Blind Side, which won her an Oscar. But I was like, come on, I want her to work with an auteur director, someone extremely talented who could use her in a way that she's never really been used in a movie before, and that opportunity came with Alfonso Cuarón and Gravity. I was so excited to see this movie, and it's shot in like the middle of 2011, and then we had to wait more than 2 years. Like, for the longest time, we didn't even see a still or a clip or anything. And I was like, what is this movie? It's Sandra Bullock and George Clooney floating in space? And I mean, is it gonna have dialogue? Like, what is this movie? I didn't know what to expect, but I believed in Alfonso Cuarón. I thought he could deliver something truly astonishing, and he did. Gravity is one of my favorite movies. I watch it all the time. I think Sandra Bullock is the only person who could have played the role of Dr. Ryan Stone. Sandra Bullock has this ability to draw us in. Even in her weaker films and performances, she has this charm, this relatability, this charisma I've always found to be so rare and intriguing with major Hollywood actresses. Like, there was talk of Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson and Angelina Jolie playing this role in Gravity, and I don't think it would have worked with them. There's something about Sandra Bullock we immediately love, and in a film like Gravity, where she is on the screen alone for what, 80-85% of the running time, and doesn't have a lot of dialogue. There are long stretches of time where the audience is just watching her work and think and try to navigate one problem after another. And the film has a devastating backstory where we learn she had a daughter who died at a young age, and she's basically been drifting through life. She doesn't get a lot of passion out of what she does. Her day-to-day is just going through the motions. So the character arc of Dr. Ryan Stone I've always found fascinating. And then you have that emotionally powerful performance from Sandra Bullock at the height of her craft. This is by far the best she's ever been in a movie. It was perfectly suited to her talent and capabilities. And then when it came to the Oscars, I was so happy to see the Academy totally embrace the movie. getting it into picture and director, and a ton of technical categories. But it is kind of a genre film. It has action and wall-to-wall visual effects. And with only 2 people really in the cast, I was a little worried if Sandra Bullock was going to make it on Oscar nominations morning. I mean, she got in everywhere, Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG. This also marked her to date only BAFTA Award nomination. So it was looking good, but Best Actress in 2013 was stacked, and I was kind of worried they would snub her the way they snubbed Amy Adams for Arrival 3 years later, right? Also a genre film. But no, thankfully Sandra Bullock made the final cut in Best Actress at the Oscars. I'm so happy she doesn't only have that one nomination and win for The Blind Side, a performance I did put in a worst acting Oscar wins video. I felt really icky and sad doing that because I adore Sandra Bullock. I don't really love that nomination and win for The Blind Side, even though it was cool to see her win an Academy Award. I don't know, I was like, really? Like, for that? Okay, thank God for Gravity and this well-deserved Oscar nomination. She was never going to win over Cate Blanchett in Blue Jasmine. I had already made my peace with that on Oscar night. But it was still very cool to see her there, recognized for this all-timer performance. Sandra Bullock for Gravity is my #1 favorite acting Oscar nomination of the 2010s. That did not result in a win. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what are some of your favorite acting Oscar nominations from this decade. Is there anyone I left off the list? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.